All right, so now that we have all this information right here, for those of you who's been following our series, the next thing that we're going to go ahead and do is attack each scenario. Now, I've asked the scenario that we should attack, and this is scenario 136524. And I'm going to let it know one thing, which is, so I'm currently recording a YouTube video right now, and it's recording right now on Loom as I'm actually giving you these instructions. Can you go ahead and explain to me why we are attacking scenarios 1, 3, 6, 5, 2, 4 in this particular order? Also, please factor in, I'm pretty sure you also factored in your decision-making process to the fact that I'm 100% non-technical, never written a line of code before. The other thing here is, how should I go ahead and attack each and every one of these scenario questions? Because as of right now, I have 3 questions per scenario that has been listed in the exam guide. And should I just go ahead and copy each question one by one? Like, this is scenario 1, question 1, and is scenario 1, question 2, scenario 1, question 3. How should I go ahead and actually input the questions into the chat? Something else that I'm also wondering is, the exam guide has already included the correct answer and why that answer is the correct answer. But for somebody that's not technical like me, I still don't have an understanding of why that is the right answer. So if you're telling me right now, and I get it from this business standpoint, we're making a decision, I'm weighing the trade-offs, and it's an architecture problem, I'm going to need some further understanding. So I'm probably going to need you to provide me with additional analogies, again, for like a business analogy, for somebody that's coming from like a recruiting and sales background, marketing background like myself, that's non-technical, and then also a product manager background for the people in my program to also understand it. I largely feel like I'm probably going to be able to copy each question per scenario, and you're going to give me back a templated response along with the explainers. But what additional information do you think I'm missing to better understand these concepts? Because on the real exam, it's about having a deeper fundamental understanding, because it's not a multiple choice like taking a driver's license exam, where the answers are going to be obvious, right? I also think from all of the information that you've provided me, there's probably going to be, maybe it would also be helpful if you can tell me, reference your vocabulary sheet for this domain and it's there, or reference the task statement sheet for this domain and it's probably there, so that I can actually now refer. I understand the information and the study notes that we've created for the task statements, knowledge of, skills in for each domain, as well as the vocabulary, including the vocabulary that's missing. Also, let me know if this is actually one of the vocabulary that I know that's actually missing. Now I understand how that correlates to the questions from the scenario. I'm probably gonna want to know also, like, how heavily weighted the exam is gonna be like this, and you're gonna see this on the exam. I think something else that would also be helpful for me is, what additional variations could this question come up on the real exam, and what are some of the possible responses that would be designed to trick me? What else? What do you think I'm missing from here? Because ultimately, I'm giving myself a timeline, and my intention is to be able to pass the exam with the 900 on the first official attempt. How do I know I'm actually really getting these concepts versus like, I might feel like I'm doing good, and then, I actually might not perform that well on the real thing. So I have all this context here. Again, I also want to stress, what do you think is going to be missing? Because in order for me to understand these concepts, I need more than just, okay, it's asking me this question, this is the correct answer, these are the wrong answers. I'm probably going to want to know some references of like, different variations of the responses, but like, I want as much assurance as possible that I'm on the right track so I can go into the exam with a high degree of confidence of passing on the first round, but also helping other people pass as well. Because I imagine a lot of non technical people are also feeling extremely insecure and overwhelmed and experiencing a very high degree of imposter syndrome trying to pass such a technical exam. I've given you a lot of context, but overall, can you also go ahead and let me know like that you understand what it is that I'm trying to get at, and also let me know if there's anything that I'm missing? I always do this. What is it that I'm missing, right? Also, any study tips, because the next thing here is I'm going to get all of the information basically onto the Google documents. I'm going to paste all of that. The visuals really help out with all the charts that you do. I absolutely love them. What are the study tips? Because I'm not going to memorize everything. Like, should I also just should we now do this for all three questions for each 6 scenarios, which comes out to a total of 18 questions first, and then I go out there and like, what do I do after that? Do I just review them on a document, or what do I go ahead and do after that? Right, and then I also have this right here, right? I also have access. I also have access to 2 vibe coded websites where they have practice exams, um, but they're all like moshed up together. This one here just has all 60 questions, but it doesn't split them up. It's in no particular order, not a domain order, not a scenario order. It makes it very overwhelming for me because I don't even know if I'm confident in actually passing it. And then there's this website here where I have the domains and I have the practice questions for each domain. And I'm thinking about just having my assistant copy and paste all those questions over to a Google Doc and just getting additional practice as well. Like, what's the game plan? You're going to give me a lot of this like response back. I'm going to, of course, copy and paste it in an organized um, like study guide that I can actually reference over and over again. But what am I going to go ahead and do with that study guide instead of just like reviewing it? This is actually where I think a lot of people with like a liberal arts background is just going to be able to win in the world of AI, is because like in liberal arts, they teach you a lot of stuff about how to think, you know. And if you're asking the right questions, what I would like for everybody to feel is that they have a certain degree of control, because you basically have this genie in a bottle right now that can answer a lot of your questions instead of feeling so powerless, you know. So like let's go ahead and get all this information out. So we have the scenario order 1, 3, 6, 5, 2, 4 developer productivity, right? Okay, now I'm feeling a little bit better about this. What I will give you back, my answer and your, hang on. Copy one question at a time and paste it to me exactly like this. Scenario 1, question 1, paste. 8 or 3. Do not read the correct answer or the explainer first. The exam guide gives you the answer, but reading it before you attempt the question trains you to recognize answers, not the reason to them. Those are completely different skills. On the real exam, you will not have the answer key. You need to practice arriving at that answer yourself. Totally right. So, what I will give you back for every single question is, every single question you will get the complete response format. Here's the template. My answer and your answer compared. Did I get it right or did I get it wrong? Stated plainly. The business analogy explanation. Why the correct answer is correct, explained through sales, recruiting, or marketing, non-technical jargon. The PM analogy, same concept. Why each wrong answer fails. Why not just this is wrong, but specifically what's the misconception? What's the trap, right? Which task statements and domains this maps to, which vocabulary term this is testing, and like how heavily weighted this concept is. 3 exam variations, how this concept can be reworded or reframed on the real exam. The distractor trap, the specific wrong answer that is engineered to fool somebody who half knows the material. Your reference pointer. Why this exam is harder than a driver's license test. You're exactly right. This is not a memorization exam, right? The CCA-F has 1 correct answer and the 3 answers that all sound reasonable to somebody who has studied the material. Every wrong answer in this exam is written by Anthropic to exploit a specific misunderstanding. They are not random. They follow predictable patterns. The almost right answer uses the correct vocabulary but applies it to the wrong situation. The reasonable sounding wrong tool, the prompt-based fix, and then the partial fix. Knowing which trap you fall is more valuable than just knowing you got it wrong. That is why the breakdown format above includes a distractor explanation every single time. How to know you're actually getting it versus fooling yourself. Okay, so we have signal 1. You can explain it without looking. You can spot the trap before you see the answer. Okay, the 2 practice websites and how to use them. Website number 1, all 60, all mixed together. Use this last after you have completed all 18 official questions with me. And in the mix order simulates real world where you do not know which one. This is your final readiness test, not a study tool. Website number 2, have your assistant copy these into a Google Doc, organize them by domain, not by question number. Then work through them domain by domain in the order as you have the schedule. These are actually your additional practice reps after you finish the 8 additional questions. Important caveat on both sides. These are community built, not official Anthropic content, so treat them as additional practice volume, not ground truth. If a question on these sites contradicts something on the official guide, wins every single time. After the official 18 questions full sequence, work through all 18. Okay, done. Work through the domain organized practice site questions, domain by domain. Take the mix. Okay, now study tips for non-technical people. Say it out loud. At every single question breakdown, explain the concept, use the analogy. What you are missing. One thing that is important is you have not tested yourself under any pressure. Everything so far has been preparation. The moment you paste question number 1 to me, commit to an answer before seeing the explanation. That is the first real data point on where you actually stand. Everything before this is set up. The other thing worth naming is the gap between I understand this when explained and I can arrive at this independently closes the repetition with the questions, not through more notes. You have enough notes. The questions are what build the independent reasoning skills. Go get lunch and paste scenario 1, question 1. That's the next move. Okay. And then I basically have all this. Well, last but definitely not least, what's the YouTube title for this video? Because I've just been recording for the last 15 minutes. On the study order for the scenario so now this is going to be my game plan on how to go ahead and attack each and every one of the 6 scenarios. I'm going to go back over here. It just went out there and prompted me how to study for the scenarios plus full game plan, non-technical guide. Anyways, so I have this And then I'm gonna go and take all of this information right now, except go get lunch. Actually, let's go ahead and we'll give you back every single question. And now you basically have this game plan, right? So every single step, so now we went from like organizing the information to now we're gonna actually go out there and attack it. And I'm gonna go out there and copy this. I love the visuals, yo. And I have this right here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and write response. And just so I remember it, I'm gonna take this right here. And you see, like, there's just no way you could do all this without voice prompting. It's not possible. The prompt for Claude. I always keep these little prompts, and I'm gonna go out there and just actually have a little toggle heading, you know? And that way I'm just gonna have it right here. And now I have all this freaking information. So I now have this very clear attack plan of how I'm going to get after underneath scenario sample questions. I have this attack plan, so I'm going to go through all of these one by one. Now, it did tell me to go ahead and go after scenario 1, 3, 6, 5, 2, 4, and that's exactly what I'm going to go ahead and actually do. And I love the fact that the percentages are already weighed out. So let's go ahead and do this. Like, this is like all domains, D3 heavy. Yo, let's get it. Let's really get it, yo. Let's really get it right now. Okay, if you haven't pinged me yet to join the program, like, let's get it. Because, like, the certification, I also know a lot of people that passed, their income level didn't go up, is because if you don't work on your communication skills, like, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of people that know this information that aren't very good at explaining it, so that's a problem. All right, let's get it.